Hello, everybody. Welcome to Roundtable, coming to you live from Beijing. I'm He Yang. Good as always to have you join us. It's getting cold out there. Depends on where you are and who you are. It's probably to ask the question, is it time for thermal underwear and long johns? We might get a little bit personal on this topic. And want to know what your workstation reveals about your personality? Well, the workstation decoration style says a lot about what kind of worker you are, apparently. Maybe this person is planning to leave in less than a month. What kind of clues is it giving off? For today's show, I'm joined by Huang Shen and Ding Heng in the studio. But first, on today's round table. This year's first snow has arrived in many Chinese cities already. As the temperature falls, people are pulling out winter gear from their closets. And people have different ideas on what constitutes as warm gear, given geographic differences, reflected temperature variations across the country. Are you someone who has to wear an extra layer of thermal underwear and long johns underneath outdoor clothes? Or are you someone who's determined to banish such clothing from your wardrobe? And maybe as you get a little bit older, these items actually creep into your wardrobe. So there's a lot to talk about. First of all, guys, let's set the table or set the scene for everyone. In China, there's a north and south divide in temperature, more or less. So is it really all that cold around the country right now?
Well, in the north, it's definitely a little bit colder. And, winter is coming. And according to a recent China Daily report, this winter's first massive snowstorms began hitting North and Northeast China in the beginning of November. Many cities across the country, including Beijing, have seen their first snowfall of this winter. And Weather.com said this year's snow in Beijing arrived 27 days earlier than the average date between 1991 and 2020. We know that in the northern part of the country, and we can enjoy the heating system. But in many cities, in many regions in the southern part, they don't really have the indoor heating system. So probably it will make them feel a little bit colder, although the general temperature is higher in the south compared to the north. And thermal underwear, or we have another name for the pants, long john, and as they are sometimes called and have long been a contentious clothing item among China's younger generation, sometimes they were forced to wear the thermal underwear or long johns in childhood and to protect themselves against the frigid temperatures. And many young adults have refused to do that because they want to stay cool and in terms of the fashion style, and they also want to just look thinner and more fashionable. But now they compromise to the long johns because how can you keep yourself warm? The best answer is to wear thermal underwear.
Well, we don't mean to get underneath your clothes, that kind of thing. But essentially, we are talking about, sometimes it's necessary to put on that extra layer. Well, Huang Shen and I were both from the northern parts of China. Ding Heng, originally you're from one of the southern cities of China, right? So do you have central heating in your city?
No, not really, because the central heating is really this legacy of this, decades of old planned economy. This is the legacy of the planned economy era. So, yeah, unfortunately, across many southern cities, southern regions, or southern provinces here in China, we don't have this kind of central heating system. I think in some particular newly established residential communities, they provide some commercial heating services so it depends, but more often than not, if you visit a southern city during winter, it's going to be a nightmare for you, particularly if you're from the north.
Yeah, it would be something that you need to get used to. And if I may give you a little bit more information about the Great Heating Divide, which traces the Huai River and Qin Mountains near the latitude 33 degrees north in this country. It dates back from the 1950s. And basically, we're talking about anywhere north from that cutoff line that I just mentioned, then yeah, it's really comfortable and warm during wintertime. Doesn't really matter what the temperature is like outside. For example, in Beijing, the bottom line of heating provided during wintertime is nothing below 18 degrees within with the indoors. But if you happen to live in the southern parts of China, then yeah, like the indoors temperature and outdoors temperature could be similar, or sometimes actually going out can be a little bit warmer for some reason.
Exactly.
Because there's not enough sunshine inside, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because there is because it's very humid.
Oh,
More
and
often
there's
than
that
not,
too.
the temperature is humid. A lot of, you know.
Yeah. So, which means if you live in the southern parts of China, which outdoors, in theory, isn't really all that cold compared to the north, and hence why there's no central heating
Yes.
originally provided in the southern parts of China. And without the heating, though, then you might get really chilly indoors, and then it makes so much sense to wear thermal underwear and long johns, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I have lived in both north and south. I grew up in south before moving to Beijing. So my personal experiences basically tell me personally that, yeah, thermal underwear is definitely something that you need and you would proactively seek if you are a resident in south. But for north, it depends. It depends. Yeah, I think here in Beijing, I can spend the whole winter without a thermal underwear, I think. When I'm younger. Now, probably I need when it's extremely cold.
Right. Interesting. And I remember for some colleagues and friends who, I don't know how we got into this private conversation, but they mentioned that when they were younger, back in the old days, if you're from the Dongsansheng, so the northeastern part of China with the three provinces up there, super cold during wintertime, snow is common. And then folks actually used to wear a lot, like the woolen thermal underpants.
Wow.
and it could be a whole set piece as well. So for folks, although they enjoy the heating indoors, but also when they go outdoors, they put on all they can, basically. So it used to be really, really cold for those people. And then for some reason, the warmer the temperature you experience, like indoors, and actually these folks said that they wanted to put on more, like the natural ability to endure the coldness isn't very high. So it's actually those folks in the southern parts of China, apparently, that they can endure the natural coldness so much better than those who are possibly, quote unquote, spoiled by the heating and then, the warm temperature you can enjoy when you're indoors, that kind of thing. And then, Hongshan, you mentioned something earlier about fashionistas' perception, or younger people's perception towards, that extra layer that you wear, because, of course, with this extra padding, then it would make you look a little bit chunkier, I would think. But now apparently there are a lot of new materials and new designs that are employed, and therefore this extra layer of clothing underneath our outdoor clothes doesn't really make you look that much fatter. So is that what's going on?
Yeah, because for many people, long johns have been something for grandparents, or rather, they are a fashion disaster. But this also offers a brilliant business opportunity to the thermal underwear manufacturers, and they hire some designers, and also they purchase the latest fashionable fabric, and to make the really thin layer of thermal underwear. So now we can see the selling point of many new style thermal underwear is the trisless, or you just feel like it's another layer of your skin and you don't really feel it. It's not very thick, it's not very chunky, and when you put an extra layer inside your like a regular pants, you couldn't at least other people couldn't tell how many layers you were wearing. And I think based on my own experience, the function of how this kind of new style fabric can generate heat is when your skin is in touch with that fabric, the friction can, especially when you're in motion, so the friction can generate heat.
Whoa.
But when you have been exposed to an environment that when a temperature is below 0 Celsius, I can guarantee you that thin layer of thermal underwear doesn't help. You still need the really thick, the woolen pants and inside your regular and like business pants. And so I think these new style thermal underwear does help the new consumers to find a balance, like where you can keep yourself warm while don't sacrifice your fashion sense. But still, in terms of the function, I think it only works for the weather that is around 0 Celsius. When it's super cold, freezing cold, I still question whether these thermal underwear will work. But in general, they are prettier and they are more carefree and compared to the traditional style of thermal underwear. But I'm very happy to see the situation is changing. It seems like young people, they care more about their physical health compared to their appearance.
Yeah, so I guess responding to one thing that Huang Shan mentioned, because of this new generation of technology, we have access to thinner thermal underwear. I mean, based on my own experiences, I think those old-fashioned thermal underwear, they are not that thick, right? So, I mean, your underwear is not something that you're going to show other people, right? Other people, whether he is sitting in front of you or 10 meters away from you, they're not going to notice easily what kind of underwear is on your body. So why does
girls,
that matter? I mean, I'm a total outsider when we talk about fashion, but maybe you can explain to me, why does that matter?
Okay, so what you're saying is that as long as you're warm and you're okay with it, you don't really care whether, the texture is
people
correct.
People cannot see through.
Yeah, and we don't want to either. So I see what you mean. Well, Huang Shan, explain to us then, why is it a point of contention actually for, this other segment of the population, which obviously does not include Dingheng?
I think especially for girls in the winter, and some girls still want to go to a style like you can wear the skinny tight jeans in winter time, then how you can like fit a thick layer of like thermal underwear into that skinny tight jeans. And the other thing is that sometimes girls like to still dress in skirts in the winter time. Then they may go for leggings, and the leggings can be too thick, otherwise it will make your legs look more chubbier, I would say, and than usual. So they want to go the visual look that their legs are as thin, as slim as possible. In this way, all you can work with is how you can make the fabric of that thermal underwear get thinner.
Ooh, and I agree with every point that Huang Shan just made. And now, like with some of these designs, actually the outdoor trousers, like they could be skinny jeans or any type of trousers that you might set your eyes on, and they can all add this really thin layer of material, like on the inside of the trousers. In that sense, Huang Shan, then we don't need to wear the extra layer of thermal underwear or long johns, and instead, just put on the outdoor trousers, and then it's got the problem solved. And yes, even during winter time, Dingheng, I know we're losing you here because his attention's going somewhere else. He's not interested, but this is crucial for other people. Like, for example, like people can't see me right now, but I have this fabulous pair of black skinny jeans on black key, because that, visually narrows the silhouette of my legs. And also, I just want to be presented in the best shape because
Okay.
I think I deserve that. And no way am I going to wear that extra
Yes.
layer
So
underneath there because it's almost like I'm admitting to I'm not putting my physical appearance like on the first or second place of consideration. And I don't know why that bothers me a little bit. And also it's like throwing in the towel of age. And I'm not ready to accept that yet. So
okay. Okay.
I still remember back in the day when we were in high school here in Beijing, and we all had to wear these really baggy, tracksuit bottoms kind of style of school uniform. And us girls actually had this discussion that because of the poor material of the trousers, if you wear this extra layer of long johns, and then there's going to be this friction that is created in between your long johns and your outdoor uniform trousers.
Yes.
And then I don't know why it bothers us. Well, I kind of still remember, but it bothered us so much because the outdoor pants would just be like clinging onto your legs, and that was just not a good look. So therefore, you know what I did? I took off the thermal underwear layer of long johns. It's like, how could I sacrifice my my looks for warmth? How unpractical that was. But I remember cycling to school in the middle of a snowy day and just wearing that thin layer of outdoor pants, and that was fine. So the great lengths that some people would go to, just to look good and so this is something very real for some people.
Yeah, I guess back in your high school days, you made a big sacrifice. So I guess so. This partly or largely has explained to us why this new generation of thermal underwear technology, they have a big market, right? Because I think we are talking about some transformation of this traditional businesses, like this traditional manufacturer of thermal underwear. I think they are also catering to the new changes in the market. For example, when we talk about this industry, one brand that comes onto my mind is this company called Nanjiren. I think, I don't know whether it has an English translation name. Maybe yes, maybe no, but it's called Nanjiren here in China. I think it has catered to the market, and I think it has even stepped into this e-commerce industry, right?
Yes.
So I guess the data I have is that in the first 6 months of 2019, the revenue of Nanjiren rose by more than 30%. And if you think about this whole industry, that's a pretty dramatic revenue increase. And there must have been a lot of, fashionable, fashion-oriented transformation within this the design of its products, I guess. So definitely.
Yeah, we are seeing that the market for thermal underwear and long johns and basically that extra layer to keep you warm during wintertime, that is going up. So is it possible that basically, with all these products, then it is capturing the wallets of young people, and then a lot of these manufacturers, they've moved online, they've tried everything they could think of to appeal to the younger generation. And yes, when we see that, well, maybe that is the future for this kind of business. What do you think?
Yeah, if we use the most popular material as an example, it's called Drillon, and now it's the most used fabric for making the new style thermal underwear. So this fabric is very light and very warm and soft to the touch, and by comparison, its thermal performance has increased 17% compared to the performance of the conventional cotton material. However, if we look deeper into this fabric, it's not only has the good side, it also has some downside, which means, and this fabric is sometimes it's not a very good material for clothes because it's very heavy fossil fuel based, and also during the manufacturing process, and this fabric can emit some harmful gases, and it will be bad for the health of the workers who are working at the front line to manufacture this kind of material. Okay. So I think it has pros and cons, but I do appreciate there's a heartwarming role reversal, which means now the younger generation, they are the ones encouraging their elderly family members to wear thermal underwear to protect their health. And when I read an article from JD.com's corporate blog, it says, according to JD's data, 28% of customers who searched for thermal underwear for the elderly were between 26 and 35 years old. Another interesting fact is that old habits are hard to break because JD's customer service center reported a surge in calls from customers calling into the hotline and inquired them to launch more new styles of thermal underwear for the younger generation. So I think the trend is very interesting. Like with the need in the market, it just encouraged the brands, the manufacturers to be more creative, and probably they should also attach a fashionable layer to their production of thermal underwear.
Yeah, that's how you get customers like Huang Shen and I, and possibly get Ding Heng interested in the future, possibly. But talking about these tenacious trends that have stuck around for a long time, I like to bring in the pajama controversy.
Oh.
That is, okay, again, this is in the southern parts of China and some of these cities, including Shanghai, actually. So folks would actually wear these very thick and padded pajamas, which you would assume people would wear at home, out and about. So it's like pajamas for the great outdoors.
Whoa.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Ding Heng?
Yeah, I have been away from my hometown for too long, for more than a decade. So I probably have failed to notice some of the latest, clothing trends.
Oh, the trend does not change, my friend.
Okay.
Basically, it is a two-piece, long trousers plus this top with buttons and a collar, and usually they're of a matching material, and they're worn on top of, let's say, maybe a sweater or whatever is underneath. And then I can't understand, considering how cold it can be for some of the southern cities, and therefore you need to wear this at home. What I can't really understand is once you're like outside of your apartment, and then maybe you're on the street going to the supermarket or somewhere in the neighborhood, and then you're still wearing that, and then doesn't it look a little bit just out of place?
Yeah, you have a point, but more often than not, I would say people going to supermarket or going to a neighbor's apartment, maybe this kind of things, this kind of daily activity, it's being conducted in a very casual manner, right? It's not a very official, formal occasion. So maybe if you go to sign a business deal, if you go to make a public speaking, you're not going to wear a pajama anyway. So yeah, for me, I'm on daily basis, I would label myself as a pretty lazy person. If I have one thing on my body, and I'm just going out of door to go to a supermarket or to just discard some rubbish, daily rubbish, I will not, really change my clothing. Yeah, I will just keep the pajama on. Maybe that explains the reason, right?
And also in a parts without centralized heating system, probably the line between indoor and outdoor is pretty blurred, and it's pretty blurring, and you don't have the awareness of the temperature change, and then you just accidentally wear your indoor thermal pajama, which is super comfortable, to the outdoor venues.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense. And also, I think it's just a great feeling that, the 弄堂 or the outdoors of the neighborhood, for example, in Shanghai, that's just like my living room. We'll be back after this break. Stay tuned.
Informed opinion and heated debate. Find out what's got China talking and join us for your roundtable discussion.
You're listening to Roundtable with myself, He Yang, joined by Huang Shan and Ding Heng in the studio. Coming up, whether you are a cleanest freak or an art lover, the state of your workplace reveals a lot about who you are. We're going to talk about workstations, and apparently this is something that young people are talking about on social media these days because the setup of your workstation reveals a lot about you. And giving up your seat on public transportation for someone who needs it should be a simple, easy gesture, one would think. But there's this grandpa who's actually refused this free seat given up by somebody else, and it's created a bit of a discussion and mostly praises. So we'll talk about this, and our podcast listeners can find us at Roundtable China. If you like the show and you're so inclined, please give us a 5-star review. It will help the ratings greatly. And another way to get in contact with us or get your voice heard by the world is to send us an audio question to aezfmmeldingcloudcomrssprogram12698105. We tailor-make a discussion to your needs. So yes, to get on the bandwagon of that one, please allow me to reiterate, send your audio question to aezfmroundtable@foxmail.com. And now on Roundtable, as we continue today's discussion. Navigating through office space is a fascinating sight, especially when you get to look at varied desk arrangements in the office. Each workstation is unique, reflecting an employee's individuality. In recent years, workers have demonstrated a great zeal for decorating their workstations, which is the area where an individual performs daily work-related tasks. So, for most people, I would say your desk in the office. All right, so then let's take a look at really this trend or this thread that has been talked about on social media.
Yeah, recently work-life balance has been a very popular term used by people whenever they talk about anything related to the job, the corporate culture, and the situation in the workforce. And although many of them cannot draw a clear line between work and life, they have decided to integrate life into work and begin to decorate their office cubicles or their tables in the office, a place witnesses their size and struggles. And according to a survey released by Taobao in December 2020, and showed that over 80% of the search keywords related to the office cubicles have nothing to do with work. So the office necessities include snacks, health pod, coffee machine, storage box, fish tank, and lunch break bed.
Ooh.
So Amanda, the search volume of tortoise tank increased by 43% year on year. So do you want to have a small friend sitting on your desk and to accompany you with this work OT time? And although experts, they like to encourage employers to, give workers some leeway to make their cube their own, but I would say not all employees are actually interested in personalizing their cubicle. So if you have wondered why, I think there are multiple reasons to it. Because some people just don't buy that idea. I just want to make the workplace.
So
Yeah.
not personalize it
Yeah.
that much. Well, what do you think about this, Ding Heng? Are you somebody who's actually spent some thought on the setup of your workstation?
Yeah, to be honest, I have never thought about, decorating my cubicle or my workstation, whatnot, but I can somehow understand this kind of intention or feeling or this kind of, intention, let's say, to decorate their workstation because, yeah, like Huang Shan has mentioned earlier, it's sometimes, even though you have this inclination, you have this determination, but it is still very, very extremely difficult to distinguish between work and life. You have so as a compromise, you have to integrate life into work so that your daily work would not seem to be that meaningless or that of a burdensome task. I think there's indeed a great point to this kind of phenomenon. And when we talk about what kind of stuff you want to buy to decorate your workstation, a turtle tank. Well, that's a pretty strange idea to me, but probably I can understand this intention to decorate it with a fishing tank, maybe. Just while you're working in office, you watch a group of fish or maybe a couple of fish swimming in that tank, and they're moving around in a very free manner. So you could imagine you were that fish. You have that freedom to move around, even though in reality you are, watched by your boss. You are watched by somebody else.
And the fish is being washed by you. So having your mini aquarium, I can understand that, bring life to your little area that you claim to be your territory when you are working for this particular organization. And I wonder, though, how much there is this, intention or having to sit down and think about this. Oh, I want my workstation to be a certain style. I'm not sure if, most people would actually go through such a serious kind of thought journey, so to speak. Like, if I may give myself as an example here, like I have throughout the years subconsciously made my workstation very personal, and I think I'm quite proud of it. Right before the show, right before we got on air, I forced Ding Heng to have forced an opinion out of you.
So my understanding is, my observation of your workstation is that
okay, watch your words.
You are very hardworking, and you have, you work here like more than 8 hours a day, I think. Sometimes
Lame.
10 hours a day, even 12 hours a day when you're super busy, right?
Yes.
So so that's really, up to 50% of your daily time.
Man. That is
So
true.
you got to have, in order to enjoy your work more or less, you got to have this kind of emotional investment into your workstation. And when you turn this kind of emotional investment into materialistic investment, that's decoration. And I can see you have put a lot of, either emotional or materialistic investment into your own little cubicle over there.
Well, okay, first of all, I think thank you very much for that. And on my work station area, well, I've got stickers from my colleague, such as Niu Honglin, who she's very cute, and she knows that I like dogs, and therefore she gave me all these dog stickers so I can place them all over my monitor. So when I'm working overtime and then I see the cute dog stickers, it makes me feel good. And also I have this little plate of perfume bottles, of course, with different kinds of perfume in it. All right. So then, when colleagues, friends come over, and then it's like, we're gonna have a little discussion about the different perfume scents, and then you could try this on and that one on or whatnot. And then, that's something that I do. And also I have a stuffed animal that is a fluffy
Sheep.
Yeah. And then it is very soft, and therefore when I'm like super stressed out, and then I basically how do I say this? Well, anyway, it's a stuffed animal. It doesn't have life, right? So you can do stuff to it. And, that sounded a bit ominous. But anyway, so that's what I do. And also I have a music box on my desk. And the other night when I was working late, and there was only me in the office and just imagine that there's only just that one light over you and you're like, how can I not feel so sad about myself? And then I turn on the music box. Okay, I should finish that tale right there. But yeah, it gives you comfort, that kind of thing. And what about some of the other things that people are doing to personalize their workstations? And why is it that we're all with this discussion online, it seems like it's only young people saying, oh, as if this is a young person's preference. But isn't it what all workers, I would think, be interested in doing more or less? Because it's still you working, right? It's not got anything to do with age, I would have thought. You would want the place you work to be comfortable, I would have thought. But what's going on then?
So when I check out the photos posted by internet users online, I was bedazzled by their creativity. And if we look at the basic level of how you can decorate your cubicle, usually you have a fan, a mini fan in the summer, and the electric heating in the winter. And if you just advance to the next level, probably you can afford your lunch break bed. You can sleep in your cubicle, and you can also have that pot to make soup and cook meals in your small space. And I'm really fascinated by the lunch break bed. Sometimes I think they can turn their table into a transformer, and all of a sudden a bed can show up and you can just comfortably lie on your bed and enjoy the fantastic lunch break. And also sometimes by checking out the decoration in your cubicle, you can tell some of the personality traits of a person, or it's the best place to showcase your aesthetic taste to the audience, which are your colleagues and coworkers. And many people give their cubicle a theme or a style. Sometimes it's business style, sometimes it's the Chinese traditional style, and sometimes it could be just Instagrammable style, and sometimes some people like me, I just follow the minimalism style. And if you're going for the Chinese traditional style, you probably can see there's a full set of a pot, teacup, and also the things, the tools you need to have a really amazing tea ceremony have been presented on the table. And if you check out the shelves below the laptop or the computer, it could be the wooden shelf and to showcase the Chinese traditional style. If this person is going for the Instagram style, probably you can see decorations inspired by the famous painters like Van Gogh, Monet, and or you place that really colorful flamingo
that makes you feel good.
Statue or poster, whatever, in your small cubicle. So people are really creative. So for me, I'm the minimalism style.
Are you sure, my friend?
I basically decorate nothing.
Oh, yeah. But you have a lot of stuff, if I may say.
I say I'm just a hoarder, to be more precise. But I do appreciate some people, they say, why? They have no intention to decorate their small cubicle. One thing is that they're too busy. They don't have spare time and to put an extra thought into the decoration of their cubicle. And some people say there's no need to be reminded of home while you're at work. In this way, you can be more focused on your work and be more productive, more creative, and encourage you to go back home earlier because you kind of miss the comfort elements and a cozy atmosphere in your home. But some people may use the decoration as a way to build that emotional attachment to your workplace. You can use this way to brainwash yourself, say, oh, I do enjoy this space. I feel comfortable in this space. Probably I would like to spend more time in this small space. And another interesting fact is that if everyone in the office is so obsessed with decorating their small cubicles, then if one person suddenly out of nowhere, just suddenly in a day, this person just remove all the decorations, it may scare the boss. Because the boss may think, oh, you're ready to go. or you're
Yeah.
planning something that you probably next day you will expose in front of him or her and then hand in that resignation letter. So you never know.
Yeah, so based on what Huang Shan has just mentioned, I think, would you guys buy this idea that if somebody never decorates his or her workstation, then this is a signal that this person doesn't have any commitment to his or her workplace? I don't know. I tend to refuse to buy this idea. I think, yeah, some of my colleagues I have worked with here on CRI, they never decorate their work desks. I think if you take a look at their workstation, apart from the main computer, apart from a mouse, a calendar, and that's all. But
Right.
if you look at their actual performance in the office, they are very dedicated to their work.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I can think of a couple of people actually who've been serving or who've been with this company for more than 10 years, but there are still a few of them who've left along the way. And anyhow, I don't think this is that much of an indicator of a person's work ethic, but maybe for some, to some extent, maybe is a small reflection of the state of mind that person is in. And right before the show, like this, I have not had a chance to run by you guys, but I came across an article from actually the US looking at exactly the same topic of workstations and how does that actually reflect, apparently, the personality of the person. And there are at least 5 categories, and I think some of them sort of coincides with what we've just said. There's the first type, which is the ghost. This worker is a ghost, and their motto is less is more, and therefore their workstation is bare minimum. Maybe what Ding Heng mentioned earlier, sort of like
Computer, a mouse, a calendar, and that's all.
And
Calendar? That's not minimalism.
Okay.
that's too much, Ding Heng. So basically, this kind of arrangement doesn't really mean that this workstation is necessarily dirty or too neat. The ghost philosophy here is just to get the job done with the bare essentials. And the second type is the artsy types, and Huang Shen, made the point for these guys. And the third type is the chaos master. These guys have the most cluttered workstation in the office, and their workstation is like a stationery shop or an employee hangout zone. And then listen to this. From paper stacks laying around to stains of coffee mugs, the chaos master does not care about cleanness. And I personally have a thing against that. I think if you don't keep your workstation clean, says a lot about this person, huh? And then the fourth type is the sneaky guys, and it's hard to locate these guys. And actually, I think we have a lot of these people in our office. They strategically choose their workstation away from the hustle bustle of the office, and they sneak in and sneak out of the office without anybody noticing. But I have a defense for these guys who especially work in the media profession, because maybe this person is a journalist, a reporter, and then we do have colleagues who need to go out into the field for reporting and all that, and therefore, yes, you don't see them all that often, and it's understandable that maybe they don't put a lot of effort into decorating their workstations because they don't sit there all the time.
Exactly.
And also there's hot desking, right? So these are sometimes when this seat is being shared by a few people, depends on the shift that they work for, and a few people sharing the same spot. And then lastly, the fifth type of workstation personality is the conqueror. And these guys aren't concerned with their workspace, but are more focused on conquering your workspace.
Oh my God.
They expand their territory by placing stuff and basically to invade your workstation. And
That's the worst category.
Yeah.
I think.
I hope people, have a chat about it instead of getting into fights. So this is part of life these days, considering that most of us in China were back into the office, and that workstation is where we spend a lot of our precious time every workday. You're listening to Roundtable. Coming up next, this grandpa, he refused the free seat that was given up for him, and we discuss why. Stick around, everybody, to find out more on that.
Looking for passion? How about fiery debate? Want to hear about current events in China from different perspectives? Then tune in to Roundtable, where East meets West and understanding is the goal.
It's the hour of Roundtable with myself, He Yang, Huang Shan, and Ding Heng in the studio. Stand-up people know that if you see a senior on board, well, we're talking about the bus or the train, you immediately get up and offer them your seat. It used to be that giving up your seat for the elderly, well, that's considered good manners. And nowadays, I think a lot of people actually take this as a must-do. Okay, here's a little bit of the background. There have been some reports of maybe senior citizens demanding other people to give up their seat, or there could be a row that happens about should you give up the seat for this elderly person or not. And then recently in Shanghai, on line 2, the subway over there, a grandpa who actually refused this free seat that was given up for him. And this has actually been praised very much on social media. Why do you think is that?
Because it's a very interesting question. Sometimes when we are on a subway or on a bus, when we bump into some elderly citizens, we may have to question that, should we offer seats to them? Definitely for me, I would like to. And this new video clip is very interesting because if we offer more background information of this grandpa, and he's already 79 years old, and he has joined a marathon for 16 years. Wow. And when these grandpa was asking direction from a young guy, and the young guy directly offered a seat to this grandpa, but the grandpa just responded that, I'm not that old, I can stand here, it's perfectly fine for me. And I really respect this attitude. And this also answers our question, should we offer seats to elderly people? Because based on our traditional Chinese ritual, we need to offer the seats to elderly. This is a way for us to show our respect and to the elderly. But I also think it's very interesting when it comes to the culture shock, because when I was in the States and I talked to one of my professors, like one time I tried to give seat to an elderly citizen, and then that guy looked at me with really angry eyes, and he thought I was insulting him, because in their culture, individualism, independence are very important, and sometimes they want to be appreciated in the society, no matter how old they are. If you give seats to an elderly, sometimes they feel like they're useless in the society. They still think they have the power, they have the energy to contribute to the society. But this is just one personal story. It cannot represent the general public. But nowadays, we have seen more and more elderly people. They are sharing the similar attitude. It's like they want to be respected in a way that they are still useful. They are still, valuable to the society. So I think the suggestion I can give is that before you offering the seat is definitely a good thing to do. I totally agree with that. And probably you can give the right to the elderly citizen. You can offer the seat and to see whether he or she want to take it or not. And it depends on the situation. Because if you see an elderly citizen who's in a very weak form, or that he or she's not in a good condition, or it could be some potential risks, then it's definitely for you to give the seat to this elderly citizen.
Exactly. I think I personally have a lot of, praise for this 79 man in Shanghai. I think, yeah, he represents a particular, maybe not very large, but a particular group of people in our society who, keep exercising, who keep a very healthy lifestyle, and they keep fit, even at the age of 79. So, yeah, good, very, very positive energy here. Sometimes when we see this kind of media reports or media story where elderly people demand that other people give up their seat, and when these younger generation of people don't realize that there is an elderly people, and the elderly people start to attack the young people verbally. Why don't you give me the seat? Oh, this is really
because
ugly
you look
story.
so young.
ugly story. And the irony here is that the supposed reason for the young to give up the seat is because the elderly is physically weaker than the young. But when they start to quarrel, to argue with the young people, they are so energetic. So a lot of irony here. So a lot of praise for this Shanghai gentleman.
Yeah. Don't you think that it's when we sort of act so entitled, and that's the reason why it enrages the other party? For example, if the elder person sort of assumes you gotta give me the privilege, no matter what, and then if you're the other party, then you feel that's very intrusive, and also that sense of entitlement just doesn't make you feel comfortable, even if you might be very willingly want to act in the good manners or whatnot.
Exactly.
But when the older gentleman like this one in Shanghai, when he's like, hey, I actually wore this hat so that I can cover up my graying hairs, and therefore, nice, good-mannered young people would not need to give up their seats, and said, oh, you work so hard every day and, you deserve to rest. And that just makes it so much more a heartwarming story.
Exactly.
But guys, then is there an etiquette that maybe we should follow when you're on public transportation, and sometimes if you have a seat and you're looking around, you might be going through this thought process? Should I give up the seat to that lady? Is she pregnant, or did she just have too many Big Macs for 1 month? Or or maybe, this older person, would I offend him or her by giving up this seat? Or maybe this person would very happily take it over. So do you guys go through a process like that? Or maybe there should just be eye contact, like with this stranger, but that's terrifying for some people.
You can politely ask the person whether he or she needs a seat or not. And
can
also
offer,
on
right.
bus or subways, there are always a designated seats. I always leave them empty, no matter how crowded the carriage could be, but I always leave it empty for the people who are in need.
The priority seating area.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something very good to keep in mind. And that's it for today's Roundtable. Have a beautiful day. We'll see you next time.